Number 3. The Wedding of Billy Brewster and Nicola Franklin. 31-year-old Nicola Franklin and 36-year-old Billy Brewster of Whitehall Township, Pennsylvania, were scheduled to get married at 10 a.m. on August 11, 2012. The couple had been together for several years and they had a 9-month-old son together. Franklin also had a child from another relationship, and Brewster had 2 children from another relationship. Franklin had worked as a preschool teacher. Brewster was a truck driver. They were supposed to get married at the Allentown Rose Gardens, and then they were going to have a reception at their apartment afterward. Franklin hadn't slept for the past few nights before the wedding date because she was caring for the baby and preparing for the wedding. When wedding guests, including Brewster's mother, showed up at the couple's apartment the morning of the wedding, they were shocked by what they found. The apartment had been sealed off as a crime scene. The night before, Brewster's cousin and his wife arrived from out of town. They decided to throw him an impromptu bachelor party, and they went out to a strip club. When they returned home, Brewster was drunk. He said he was going to take the baby and pick up some sandwiches. Franklin didn't want him to take the baby because he was drunk. At 2:17 a.m., a call came into 911. Franklin is heard screaming at Brewster not to take the baby because he's drunk and to do what she says or she'll hit him. Brewster is then heard telling Franklin to get away from him. Then someone yelled, "Knife." Then Franklin is heard screaming, "Do you want to die tonight? Do you want to die tonight?" Then the call goes dead. At 2:20 a.m., Franklin called 911 and told the operator her husband needed an ambulance because she had cut him. The police came and found Brewster bleeding from the chest. He was taken to the hospital. Franklin was arrested and taken to jail. Brewster was stabbed twice on the left side of the torso. One of the stabs pierced his heart. 36-year-old Billy Brewster was pronounced dead at 3:24 a.m., 6 hours and 36 minutes before he was scheduled to get married. On the afternoon of what would have been her wedding day, Nicola Franklin was brought in front of a judge and told she was being charged with first-degree murder. At first, Franklin didn't believe that Brewster was dead, and she asked the judge to check again. The judge told her that he was pronounced dead at the hospital. As Franklin rocked back and forth, she said, "I want my family back. I want to go home." The judge informed her she wouldn't be going home anytime soon. Franklin was asked if she understood the charges against her. She sobbed and said, "I did not kill him on purpose." Nicola Franklin's trial was scheduled for May 2013. She was offered a plea deal. If she pleaded guilty to manslaughter, she would have been sentenced to a minimum of 13 years in prison. But Franklin thought that was too long and decided to go to trial. She was found guilty of first-degree murder, and she was sentenced to life without the chance of parole. 42-year-old Nicola Franklin is serving her sentence at the State Correctional Institution Muncie in Muncie, Pennsylvania. Number 2. The Wedding of an Unidentified Couple. On August 3, 1997, an unidentified couple was holding their wedding reception at the Gilby Community Center in Eckville, Alberta. Eckville is a small town about 120 miles north of Calgary. The couple, who lived in Calgary, had about 100 guests. At around 1 a.m., there was a disturbance. The bride's brother, 20-year-old Andrew James Klassen, fell behind the bar. When he got up, he violently swiped a bunch of beer bottles off the bar. Several of them smashed. A shard of glass hit the groom in the face and created a deep cut on his lip. Nearly everyone who was at the reception was angry at Klassen. Klassen's sister, the bride, yelled at him that he had ruined her wedding. Other people yelled criticism at him. One person even said he wanted to kill him. Then 20-year-old Christopher Clam approached Klassen, and he was kind to him. Clam talked to him and tried to comfort him. Clam was an only child and grew up in a very Christian home. He worked at a pet store with Klassen's sister. He didn't know Klassen and only met him that night. While Clam talked to Klassen, the hall cleared out. The bride and the groom went to the hospital with some other guests. Eventually, only Clam and Klassen were left in the hall. Several hours later, the bride and the groom and several friends returned to the hall. They found it splattered with blood. They followed the trail of blood into the kitchen. They found a mutilated body. The face was unrecognizable. A baseball bat was lying near the body. Based on the clothes, they realized it was 20-year-old Christopher Clam. The police were called, and 21-year-old Andrew Klassen was found asleep in his truck. He was covered in blood. He was arrested for the murder of Christopher Clam. Clam's death had been brutal. He had been beaten in the head with a baseball bat that was found near his body. He had also been beaten with fists and stomped on. He was stabbed 28 times in the chest and face with 2 knives. 2 of the stab wounds went into his heart. His throat was also slashed 5 times. Andrew Klassen's trial started in May 1999. Klassen testified on his own behalf, and what he said surprised many people. He explained in January 1993 he was 16. One morning he was walking to school when he encountered a drifter under a bridge. The man supposedly attacked him with a knife and slashed him in the chest. Klassen said he wrestled the knife away from the man and then stabbed him. He ended up killing the man and he dumped the body in the river. Klassen said he went home and put duct tape on his wounds. He then lifted his shirt and showed the courtroom the scars from the attack. He then said a year later he was jogging through a park at 3 a.m. Suddenly, a well-dressed man on a park bench attacked him with a knife. The man slashed him across the abdomen. Klassen said he took the knife away from the man, stabbed him, and then ran away. Once again, Klassen showed the scar from the attack. Klassen testified that he never told anyone about either attack. Klassen said he had been suffering from PTSD from the attacks. On the night of the wedding, he had drank a lot. Then he fell behind the bar and he thought someone was attacking him. So he swiped at the bottles on the bar. Later, Klassen was watching the guests leave the hall. As he was looking out the door, Clam put his hand on his shoulder. Klassen thought he was being attacked, so he started punching Clam. He then ran out to his truck to get a baseball bat he always kept in his truck. When he got back inside, he said that Clam had a knife. Klassen said he attacked him with a baseball bat and then stomped on him. He thought he was dead, but then he heard him breathing, so he stabbed him. The defense presented evidence that Klassen's blood alcohol level was 3 times higher than the limit to drive. The prosecution pointed out that the police never found any evidence that either attack happened. Klassen also admitted that sometimes he questioned if the knife attacks really happened. After a 2-month trial, Andrew Klassen was found not guilty of second-degree murder, but he was found guilty of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 11 years, plus the time he had already served while awaiting his trial. Andrew Klassen would have been eligible for parole in 2007. If he weren't released on parole, he would have finished serving his sentence in 2010. His current whereabouts are unknown. Number 1. The Wedding of Gladys Ricart and James Preston Jr. Gladys Ricart was born in October 1960 in the Dominican Republic. In 1983, she moved to the Bronx, New York to attend college. After college, Gladys, who was a single mother, found herself on welfare. Then, through a welfare program, she found a job as an accountant at a travel agency and was considered a wonderful worker. In 1993, she started dating a businessman named Agustin Garcia. Garcia had started the Dominican Chamber of Commerce in New York City. He was also the head of several nonprofit organizations. Gladys and Garcia lived together until 1995, and then they broke up. Gladys purchased a house in Richfield, New Jersey, and she moved there with her son. In 1997, Gladys and Garcia started dating again. Their relationship was often tumultuous because Garcia was abusive. In the spring of 1999, they broke up again. In July 1999, Gladys started dating James L. Preston Jr., an accountant. It was a whirlwind relationship. After a few weeks of dating, he asked her to marry him, and she said yes. The wedding was scheduled for September 26, 1999. 39-year-old Gladys Ricart was very excited about the wedding. She had planned a big wedding. There were going to be 8 bridesmaids and 8 groomsmen. The bridesmaids were all her nieces. On the day of the wedding, everyone was getting ready at Gladys' home. Outside there was a Rolls Royce and 2 limos. The groomsmen were all gathered outside. Inside, Gladys was dressed in her bridal gown, handing out bouquets to her bridesmaids. Gladys' 47-year-old ex-boyfriend, Agustin Garcia, drove around the block several times and watched the gathering. He then stopped and got out of his car. He was wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase. He looked like a typical wedding guest. He then walked towards the front door. Gladys' brother, Juan, tried to stop him from going inside. Garcia said it was fine, and he just wanted to congratulate Gladys on her wedding day. He then rushed by Gladys' 20-year-old son, Davis, who was standing at the door. Garcia went directly into the living room, where Gladys was with her bridesmaids. A guest was recording Gladys handing out the bouquets, and a photographer was taking photos. Gladys saw her ex-boyfriend coming towards her. He pulled out a .38 caliber revolver from his briefcase and started shooting at Gladys. When the shooting started, nearly everyone ran out of the house. Gladys' brother Juan tackled Garcia after he fired 3 shots. As he was being tackled, he fired the last 2 bullets from his revolver. He then tried to get more bullets out of his pocket. But the police arrived and arrested Agustin Garcia. Unfortunately, it was too late for 39-year-old Gladys Ricart. She had been shot in the head and was pronounced dead. Garcia went to trial in October 2001. There was no doubt that he had killed Gladys. There was a videotape of him shooting her, plus over a dozen witnesses. Also, he was arrested at the crime scene with the murder weapon. Instead, his defense argued that he committed manslaughter because of passionate provocation. This means he acted suddenly before he had time to cool down and think about his actions. If you were convicted of manslaughter, the sentence was only 10 years in prison, as opposed to life in prison if you were convicted of murder. Garcia's lawyer said that Garcia didn't know that they had broken up permanently. After all, they had broken up before and gone back together. Garcia thought that they were still in a casual relationship. He claimed he had sex with Gladys 3 nights before the murder. Garcia said that he didn't know that they were getting ready for a wedding when he showed up that day. He thought that they were having a party for Gladys' mother. But then when he walked inside the house and saw Gladys in her wedding dress, he realized she was getting married to someone else, and he snapped. As for why he had the gun on him, he claimed he only brought it because he had problems with Gladys' son, Davis. But several people testified that Garcia was abusive and controlling. Gladys had told her co-workers that if she didn't come to work one day, it was because Garcia had killed her. Garcia had also been stalking Gladys since they broke up. Gladys had also recorded a conversation where Garcia admitted that they had broken up. Also, when Garcia came up to the house, he should have realized they were getting ready for a wedding. A Rolls Royce, 2 limos, and the groomsmen were outside the house. Plus, he was told not to go inside the house, but said he wanted to because he wanted to congratulate Gladys on her wedding day. So he definitely knew that she was getting married before he walked into the house. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Then the jury deliberated over 2 days. Augustin Garcia was found guilty of murder. In January 2002, he was sentenced to life in prison. He is eligible to apply for parole after serving 30 years. At the time of this video, 7-year-old Augustin Garcia is serving his sentence at the East Jersey State Prison in Woodbridge Township, New Jersey. Including time served, he is eligible for parole in September 2029 when he'll be 78 years old. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out our new channel, Paranormally Listed. There's a link on the screen now, and there's a link in the description box below this video. Well, that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.